Welcome to Come and See, your podcast for finding truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. With host and founder Richard Case and co-host and retreat leader Kathy Ricconi. Join us every weekday at this time to discuss news, spend time in the Word, and receive answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. And now your host, Richard Case.
Well, good morning, Kathy.
Good morning.
Here we are. Again, this is now Wednesday, broadcasting on the 25th of May.
Yes, the last day I will be 51 years old.
That's it. Oh, you told your age. I thought you were 20.
I
thought you were 29.
That's right, 29 forever.
That'll be fun. Do you already have something planned yet, or you don't know yet?
I don't know yet, so we'll see. Because again, we're taping this early. Not really sure what's going on yet. We're going to be in the thick of graduation type stuff, honestly, when that's going on. So we'll do something fun anyway.
What's Anna going to do this summer?
It worked out great. God is just so cool. So she has always been a summer camp counselor for the last several years and loves it, has always enjoyed that. But she really coming into this summer was feeling like she wanted a little more freedom and not quite, because she works hard when she does that. It's long hours, hard work, and comes home exhausted, but enjoys it. And she was praying about this, early this year, and just asking God how he wanted her to spend the summer. And, me being me, I wanted more bandwidth, more time with her to do some fun things too, and not be navigating all of that. And as we prayed about it, he just teed up this perfect job for her for the summer. Literally, our next door neighbors, who she normally babysits, would like a nanny for 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays. That's it, throughout the summer. And the rate that they pay her to babysit in her 2 days a week of nannying them, she will make more than she made all week long as a camp counselor. And so just perfect. And that gives us basically, 5-day weekends to go travel and have fun, to sit by the pool. And even with the 2 kids being next door, she can just come bring them to our swimming pool during the day. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
You can tell Anna that calculus paid off. she figured out 2 is better than 5. Let's see. That math really works, doesn't it?
But it was sweet just to see God just perfectly deliver as she was asking him what he wanted, and she was really feeling like she's not supposed to go back, but she knows she wants to pad her pocketbook going to college in the fall. Yep. And he just very faithfully gave her just the perfect solution to that. Yep. So we're excited for that. So we're going to have a lot of fun this summer for sure. Yeah, and as you know, Caleb's coming out to Colorado. He'll be with you most of the summer.
We're going to make him, we're going to have him get to work. And,
he's looking forward to it.
We need people that can do the detail stuff. Because I don't like doing it, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, he's looking forward to the experience.
Yeah, it'll be fun to be in Denver. So we're looking forward to that as well. So as we've been talking about obedience and this whole aspect of, we talked last time about, ask and God will give you great and mighty things, that he says, when you're struggling, call to me and let me guide you. And see, this is what hopefully everybody's starting to grab a hold of, is obedience isn't okay, fine. It's one, am I hearing what you say you're going to do, and am I hearing what you're asking me to do? And by the way, when he asked me to do something, by definition, it's just a step, because we're always on the path. So it's not like, here's the next 12 things you got to do. Mm-hmm. Just take the step,
right?
And I will do it, and I'll show you that. So that as I've experienced, dealing with people, particularly people around me that are involved with certain things. They're being told something. God says, "Here, I'd like you to take this step," and it's a little bit contrary to it. Like, for example, I had a guy that he had gotten in deep trouble, and if you can picture, you've dug a little hole, and it's a problem, and so you're trying to dig yourself out of it.
Right. And the hole just gets bigger and bigger.
And the hole gets bigger and deeper to where, I can't even get out of the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happened to this guy. He had got himself in a hole. He himself tried to get out of it.
Right.
And he got out. He was trying to get out of it by, in a sense, cover up, not sharing, because he did a couple things that were really wrong. I mean, even potentially criminal. And he was trying to figure it out himself and trying to see if I could get it resolved so that nobody would find out, what I've done.
Right.
Well, he got deeper and deeper and deeper. And so he had actually come to a retreat, and I made a statement about the gospel. And the gospel, the good news is, how about now? I can deliver to you the gospel now in your life, and it doesn't matter how severe a problem you got. God can restore it. And we actually read that verse last week, or yesterday, of Jeremiah, of I'll restore to you all the mess. And it looks to you pretty barren.
Just come with me.
It looks pretty barren to you, and nothing's here. I'm going to make it all beautiful again. And so I made the statement, the gospel's so, and how about now? And God can restore it. So he had later called me up and said, you said this about the gospel, and let me share with you. And he went through the hole he'd built, and I said, God will restore it. I know 100% he can restore you. I don't know how, I don't know when, and I don't even know what you're going to have to go through, including you may have to have some restitution, or there might be some issue that you have to work through to get there. But
God will make that clear.
But he'll get you there even through it, and don't
Mm-hmm.
worry. Okay, so he said, I'm willing to go. So he starts to abide, listen, process, and he's making headway, and he comes to this point where it's moving in the right direction, and then God says to him, you got to go to your employer and tell him everything you did. Well, you can imagine.
I don't want to do that.
You can imagine the response.
Right.
Like, no,
Right. Well, and so much fear involved in that, no
because
doubt.
if I do that, I'm actually peeling open the consequences automatically, and I'm going to have a consequence of what I did, because I know what I did wasn't right, isn't
right?
And you can imagine the thought, isn't there a different way?
Isn't there a different way?
I'll never do it again.
Yes.
I will absolutely be honorable, and I'll never do this again. Could you just, God says, no, my step of instruction is you're going to go have to confess and tell him everything. You can't sugarcoat it. You got to tell him everything. And then, of course, the question that we have and he had is, well, then what's going to happen next?
Right.
And God says, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you it's going to be good. I'm leading you to good, but I'm not telling you what's going to happen. I'm asking you, are you willing to take the step of obedience, which is going to lead you to best and none better?
Right.
And by the way, and we talked about this, by the way, how's it working out for you so far? The way you've been doing it, is that leading you to good? Actually, it's leading you to literally oppression and struggle and burden. And I can give you the freedom if you have a heart to go. Yeah, but, okay. I said, that's okay. I understand it. Spend time with God, and you process through, call out to him the great and mighty things that you don't know, and let him guide you into the confidence that it's going to be okay. And again, okay meaning it's going to wind up okay. Maybe the next thing that's going to happen is, you're going to have consequences. But if that's leading you to freedom, why would you not want to do that? Trust him, trust him, trust him. Process, discussed, okay. And it's kind of like what you talked about with that tithing example of, was he 100% convinced? No.
Right.
Because he couldn't see it. He had to trust it. I'm willing to trust it. God's given me the confidence to trust it. And it didn't matter that it took a week or two for God to work with me. He said, and I told him, the one good thing you're going to do, if you have a heart to do it, stay with him. Obedience will come. You'll see the benefit of that. And so it did. And he went and did it. Okay, I'm going to do it. He does it. And they basically said, okay, thank you for sharing all that. We're gonna clean it up. We're gonna have you help clean it up. We can actually make this all work. In essence, there wasn't any serious consequences to him, other than now he had to process the steps of restoration with it and what to do to recover it.
Right.
And it's really interesting to me because I saw him before and after that step. Before, trepidation, fear, burden, heaviness. Man, I don't know about this. Afterwards, and it wasn't even resolved yet. But immediately afterwards, it's just release. Like, oh, the burden is off, and I don't even have to carry any more hiding what I did. It's out in the open. Fantastic.
Right.
Now I can get wholeness, and then he got fully restored, and literally everything that he had ruined, God restored it all, every element of it. And it was really remarkable. So
that's beautiful.
It's really cool how that works with the step of obedience. So as we go, he said, now there's a benefit to these steps. So if you go to Matthew 25. This is a parable of the talents. This is where the master comes, gives a guy 5, gives one 2, gives one 1. He said, go and make sure you take care of it. Be a steward over what I've given you. Okay, so we're going to pick it up in verse 20, where they now are reporting what happened. So go ahead. Verse 20, Matthew 25, 20 to 30.
So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered to me 5 talents. Look, I've gained 5 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. He also, who had received 2 talents, came and said, Lord, you delivered to me 2 talents, and look, I have gained you 2 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours. But his Lord answered to him and said to him, you wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Yeah. Well, it didn't work out for that guy too well.
No.
So this is, again, we go in the depth of this story and the understanding of it. And the questions are behind it all is, well, why? The guy didn't lose it. Wasn't that a good thing? And it seems kind of harsh, the penalty. So how come it happened? I can see about the other guys, but what about that guy? So we'll talk about that. So the guy with 5 comes back and says, here, I was steward over the 5, faithful over the 5. Here it is. Fantastic. The 2 come back. I was faithful over 2. See what happened. He says, fantastic. Okay, now, number 1 is, what was the reward for each of those? When he said, well done, good and faithful servant, what does he say?
Mm-hmm. He actually gives them more to be responsible and ruling over.
He says, enter into my joy.
Mm-hmm.
He says, because you have been faithful, obedient to what I instructed you, more will be given you. And if you look at the wording, that's exactly the same. So it's not like, well, you had 5, so you get a bigger reward because you did more. It's not about that. The 2 got the same as 5. Okay, why? It's about the step. Are you willing to be faithful to the step that I've asked you to take? The reward for you is going to be equal to somebody else's step that I'm asking them to take. And again, if you think about the reward, one is you get to have joy.
Right.
Okay, now think about what brings joy. I'm going to enter, he says, enter into joy. Well, what's going to happen is that my life is now going to be exciting and full of freedom and full of adventure.
Characterized by joy.
It's going to be characterized by joy. And whether I had 2 or 5, I get to that place just all by itself. And your life, because you've been faithful, your life is going to be joyful. Now, implying, by the way, that when you enter into it, and I'm going to give you more, by definition, what is he going to ask? You're going to have to be faithful to that too.
You're going to need to steward that as well.
And you got to do it again, and you got to do it again, and you got to do it again. So you can have joy for sure. Now I'm going to ask you to be faithful, and the reward is I'm going to bless you with the covenant life that's directed toward you, that you won't even think about, what about that guy? You're going to be thinking of, how fantastic is this that I get to experience this, and it's at the same level, intensity, beauty, magnificence, as somebody else, which is why you don't look at somebody else and say, well, they're more blessed than me. No, they're not.
Right.
Different. So, are there people that have more money than me or have more houses than me? And sure, I have because I love speed. I would, if I could, I'd love to have a Ferrari.
Right.
Because man, that's fun to drive. And of course, God says, as I explored that, is, well, are you willing to let me bless you? Yes. What do you really like? Speed. He says, well, how about if I have you drive your friends' Ferraris, and you can go as fast as you want whenever you want? It won't cost you a penny. Yeah, I like that.
Oh, that sounds nice.
So am I blessed? Yes. Do they have more than me? In a way, yes, but in a way, no.
Right.
It's about, well, Rich, let me bless you in the way that your life is geared. And why would you care about somebody else who's blessed that way in a different way? Because it's really the same thing. I'm giving you the covenant like I'm giving them the covenant. So he said, enter into my joy, enter into the privilege of now moving to the next place in life, next path, piece of the path. I'm gonna have you experience more stuff. And by the way, the more, as I've experienced it, is really more authority and more power of the things that you're going to face, not just more stuff, or even bigger. It doesn't even mean it's going to get bigger. It just means you're going to experience more, I believe, more of God and the life of God, and everybody can experience that. Okay, to the one, he said, you're wicked. He said, well, I didn't lose it. Okay, now think about, why was he called wicked?
I guess really because he didn't even ask God what to,
okay.
what
so
to do with that.
He
let fear keep him from doing.
He was asked, I would like you to steward what I'm giving you. What did that one with one decide?
He decided on his own that stewarding it would be basically hiding it.
Yeah. In essence,
out of fear.
I'm going to do nothing. I've decided to do nothing because I've decided and thought, I guess that's the best way is to operate. And the mistake, and the reason he's called wicked, and as we've talked about this over the last even couple weeks now, is wicked is defined as not following God. We tend to think of wicked as black, awful, dark.
As evil, yeah.
No, it's not following God. What? Deciding on your own what you want to do, without checking in and following the instruction that I've been given, and I understand it, and well, exactly, what would you have me do? Hey, I think it'd be a good idea just to make sure I don't lose it. And the master would have said, no, I'm not talking about that. Let me help you understand what obedience was. So wickedness is simply lack of obedience. Why? I don't even care. I didn't process. I didn't stay with it. I didn't pursue it. And so our life is really geared around, do you believe the step I'm asking you to take? And he says, what I'm asking you to do is be faithful.
Right.
Faithful to what? Stay with me, process through, and then follow through on what you've heard me instruct. And when you're faithful to that, your life will be joyful. Your life will be full of adventure. Your life will be full of the next opportunity for me to keep having you walk down the path
Right.
of beauty. And if you stop it, in essence, he says, I'm gonna cast you out, because you're not going to basically get the privilege of enjoying what I have, and because of your heart, and you're not willing to go, then you're never going to experience it. Now we know something, by the way, that one person could have done what? Repent. Whoops. Yeah, I made a mistake. Okay, I'm sorry. Could I have another shot? Yeah, sure. Come on.
Absolutely. Right.
How about now? We can do it now. So it's really a cool story of faithfulness, and it's just faithful in what? Small things. He even says it, little things.
Yeah.
Just little things.
And it really it undoes the whole idea of comparison.
Right.
And we can do that whether it is with physical things that we have, material things that we have or whatever, or even with ministry opportunities. We can get in this comparison trap of what God has given us or what he's entrusted to us versus what he's entrusted to someone else.
Right. And
he just wants us to be faithful with what he has given us, and he will multiply it.
Yeah.
He will do it. Yeah.
Think of the story at the end of John. Peter, remember, has had his difficulty with I'll never let this happen to you, and then he denies Christ 3 times, and he's got to be restored, and Jesus restores him and says, Jesus actually says to him, do you love me? And the word there is agape, do you have an affection for me to do my work through you? And Peter responds, I phileo you. I am trying. I'm not quite there yet. I'm trying, but I'm not quite there yet. Okay. Do you love me? I'm trying, but I can't get there. Do you love me? I can't try to do that. He said, okay. I've got a path for you, and I'm going to have you do this, and there's going to be certain things that happen to you. And Peter, what does he say to Jesus? What about him?
Yes.
What about John? Come on. What about him? And what does Jesus say? Look, if I was you, son, I'd just worry about being faithful to your path. Don't compare. You don't need to compare.
Such a lesson for all of us, right?
You don't need to worry about what happens to them. He's got his own path.
Mm-hmm.
You got your own path. And all I'm asking you to do is be faithful to the steps. He who is faithful in little is going to experience this great, mighty thing. And you just do what? The focus for me is what? What do you got to say to me?
Right.
What are you going to do? What do you want me to do? And then give me the power to be faithful to my instruction without even worrying about somebody else's instruction.
Exactly.
It's really just be faithful to mine. And by the way, what? And he says, interesting enough, guess what, son? The reward is the same.
Yes.
We're not talking about the same quantity. It couldn't be necessarily the same the imagery. It'll be fantastic, and you'll experience the fantastic.
And entering the joy of the Lord.
And you'll have joy. Everyone's going to have this joy. Okay, there's one other thing that he tells us, which is important along this line. Go to 2 Timothy 2, 1-7. There's a statement that's made here about what this means to be faithful.
Here. You, therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus. And the things that you have heard from me among many witnesses, commit these to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. You, therefore, must endure hardship as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. No one engaged in warfare entangles himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who enlisted him as a soldier. And also, if anyone competes in athletics, he's not crowned, and unless he competes according to the rules. The hardworking farmer must be first to partake of the crops. Consider what I say, and may the Lord give you understanding in all things.
Yeah. So he says, as you're walking with me, don't get entangled. And he says a soldier doesn't get entangled with civilian affairs. So he's using a really clear imagery here. First of all, when you think of the word entangled, what do you think of?
I picture something that gets you tripped up.
Yeah.
Something that traps you, you know.
And I don't know if you've ever been fishing or you've had cords that get tangled up.
Yes, bungee cords that are notorious for that.
they're all wrapped up together, and I can't just pull it out and easily. It's all tangled up, and I've got to try to untangle it because it's kind of a mess, and they got kind of connected together, and it's not working very well. So he uses that word complicated. Don't complicate and put things that aren't supposed to be there together, because it's going to cause you difficulty and it's not going to be easy. And he uses the word a soldier with civilian. Is a soldier works for who? The military.
Right.
Their life is all geared around what?
Military.
And who tells them what? The officer.
Right.
This is what I'm asking you to do. This is your instruction. This is where we're headed. You do that. Okay, do they even have time to go off and, I'm going to run a business too?
No.
Yeah, see, they if they do, they get overwhelmed, and they can't.
And in fact, aren't able to be flexible enough to then fulfill what their mission is.
That's right.
If you've got to be pulled out ready at a moment's notice to go on assignment somewhere, you can't be entangled in all these other things that keep you from fulfilling what you're supposed to be doing.
That's right. And so it's physical. You couldn't even fulfill what I've asked you to do. You're doing half baked toward my stuff. You're involved something else, which you're doing half baked with that. And then, by the way, as I now instruct you something new, you can't, because you're still entangled over there.
Right.
Or, okay, I'll try, but guess what? Your mind mentally is over there, and you're not focused, and you're frustrated, and you're irritable. And so God says, do not get entangled with the world, so to speak. And what he's saying is this: your instruction comes from who?
God.
From him. So he says, I'm talking about not being involved with things of the world. He's saying, follow my instruction only. Do not, on top of that, hey, by the way, I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to have this second house, or I'm going to own this boat, or I'm going to get 3 businesses, or I'm going to do this, this, and this. Even as you're running a business. One of the things that I do, I work with companies, with CEOs, and I have to teach them that you personally are entangled because you're doing way too much work. You got people that can do it. Why don't you learn to delegate it, have the right people, and you together can really enjoy life, because you're really violating what God is saying. Well, that's not my instruction. So faithfulness is really faithful to what? God's instruction. He said, don't get entangled. Good. It's going to cause you all kinds of trouble. I'm trying to prevent you from that and give you joy in life by just following me, which, by the way, I'm going to include Sabbath. I'm going to include rest.
I was going to say, this really actually speaks to when you teach on margin and allowing God to prune and make margin in our lives.
That's right. That's right.
The same idea.
And we can talk maybe a little bit about that next time, because this is a big problem with people is that, I like margin, but I don't know how to get there, and doesn't everybody need me? And if I quit this, it's not going to work, and they're not going to be happy with me.
Getting unentangled is hard.
Get unentangled, get out of this mess. So make sure that we bring that up next time. That we talk about that aspect, because that's a big question of, it sounds easy, but it ain't easy.
Right, right. And there's people that are going to fight you on it.
Exactly. Well, we'll talk more about this next week, and we got a guest day tomorrow and End Times Friday at the end of the week, and so we're excited about that. And
excellent. Looking forward to it.
Just keep processing. The beauty of obedience is just faithfulness, walking with Him, taking the steps that God's given you, and it'll lead you into the best covenant that God has for you. So we pray that that'll be so.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing your wisdom with us again, and thank you for joining us, everyone. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Have a great day.
We'll look forward to it. Have a good one. We'll see you.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Come and See, your podcast for truth in a world of chaos. Brought to you by All for Jesus Living Waters Ministry. Send us your questions and comments, and tune in tomorrow for more answers to your personal questions about living life in God's truth. Remember, God's will is best and none better. His truth brings peace in this world of chaos.